everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dev Parkour. In this video, I'm going to talk about the tools that I use when I'm writing PHP. Specifically, these are the tools that I'm going to be using for the Glassminnow project. If you've been following along with the channel, you know that I'm working on scaling a legacy PHP app into a cloud-native, modern PHP app, and kind of showing my progress along the way and various decisions that I'm making and that sort of thing. But in this video, I wanted to specifically take a look at the tools that I would be using, or at least talk about them. We'll see them in future videos as I use them. But for starters, I'm going to be using this laptop. This is the Microsoft Surface Laptop 3. At this point, it's about, it's August now, so that would make it about a year and 2/3 old. I got it at the end of 2019. So yeah, basically just about the beginning of 2020. I actually may have gotten it, physically received it in January of 2020. So it's been over a year and a half that I've had this machine. It's a great machine. Obviously it runs Windows, which is why a lot of the videos on my channel have been things like running Windows Subsystem for Linux, doing things with Windows Subsystem for Linux. My background is most of the time I've spent on Linux and Mac developing. So Windows Subsystem for Linux is kind of my go-to when I'm building things that I would have typically built on Mac or on Linux. PHP certainly falls into that category, so I'll be using Windows Subsystem for Linux a lot. I'll also be using Docker, and I had a previous video where I showed how to run Docker with Windows Subsystem for Linux, specifically running PHP in Docker with Windows Subsystem for Linux. So I'll leave a link to that video down in the description below. As well as I did a video where I talked all dev laptops. I'll leave that video linked as well. So that covers the machine. That covers the kind of the runtime environment. For PHP specifically, I will be using PHP 8, but everything that I'm doing, you could be running anywhere from PHP 7, which is actually where this project started. It's so old that it was initially running on PHP 7. The last time it was in production, it was running on PHP 7. All of this information could be used for PHP 7 all the way through to PHP 8. So it doesn't matter what version of PHP you're using, or if you're using like a PHP version manager or something like that. You can use all of the same stuff. I'll be using Visual Studio Code as my IDE. VS Code has been my go-to IDE pretty much since it came out. I used to use Sublime Text. I actually bought a license for it back in the day. I've used Atom. Atom was pretty good when it came out. But then VS Code came out, how long ago was that? That was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say, maybe longer. And it really took the world by storm. In my opinion, it is the best IDE for pretty much anything that Visual Studio proper isn't the best IDE for. So C#, I still prefer Visual Studio, but pretty much everything else, I really like Visual Studio Code. JavaScript, PHP, Go, pick your language. Visual Studio Code is a fantastic choice for it. So I'll be using Visual Studio Code. I'm also using a plugin called PHP Debug, which allows me to tie in with the Xdebug PHP module. I've also done a video on that, so I'll leave that linked. In addition to that, I'm not currently doing it right now, but in, I think next week's series is all about CI/CD, starting that process. For continuous integration, I use Gitlab, so I'll show more about that in an upcoming video. But that's what I'll be using. I'm already using that for Git, so every time I make a change, I push it up to my Gitlab instance. But next week, we'll be wiring up the continuous integration pipeline, so you'll get to see how that works. In addition to that, I'll probably also be using some other tools, some of which will make an appearance later, including SonarQube for static analysis, something called ZA Proxy, which does dynamic analysis for security vulnerabilities. So that'll be fun to look at. Let's see. Along the way, I may employ other tools to show specific aspects, but those are the main ones that are going to work into my day-to-day workflow. So Visual Studio Code, a couple plugins, PHP, obviously, Windows Subsystem for Linux, Docker, and Gitlab. Those are the main ones, all running on my Windows laptop, my Microsoft Surface Laptop 3. So hopefully you found this video interesting. If you have questions about my development setup or suggestions, maybe you're using something similar and you found something that really works for you and you want to see it on a video, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Hit that thumbs up if you like the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you'll get notified when the next installment of this series comes out. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll see y'all tomorrow.